It would be my first episode, like when they were cutting to that first little stretch, it would be me like gloved up wiping down their shower. I'd be like, this will be a nice little surprise for them. They'll come home and be like, did you set off a bomb? Our whole house smells like bleach.
I went to church camp where not one, not two, but 3 different times a kid just took a shit in the outdoor showers. Which were already the grossest things that ever existed, those outdoor showers.
So I guess I do believe in the death penalty.
Welcome to Bible Boys, a recently rebranded podcast where 2 ex-evangelical siblings and an ex-Catholic non-sibling watch Christian media and either praise or condemn it. I'm Aaron.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Michael.
And this week, Michael takes us on a spousal switcheroo as we watch the God Warrior episode of Trading Spouses. Before we host our own dark-sided radio program, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, like and comment on our video, and follow us on Twitter at The Bible Boys. Michael, do we want to talk about the recent controversy, or do we want to talk about how I'm not sure if you like me as a person?
I don't know whatever you could mean by me not liking you as a person.
It's just like, I thought we had like this podcast going where we were like, because we're all like ostensibly friends and we have a good time together. But then you did recommend that we watch this, which did feel sort of like a personal attack on me, just like my whole being. And I'm just, are we good?
It's really funny that Aaron's also bringing this up, because I also felt very personally attacked in this. And I think that's the beauty of Trading Spouses, is that they say, actually, both sides kind of suck equally. I'm a centrist. I'm so much smarter than you because I know both sides are kind of bad, even though one side is clearly much fucking worse.
I just think that you're both dark-sided, and we're going to start a, Bible Boys drinking game or whatever you want game. Whenever you hear dark-sided, go for it. Whatever your thing is.
Michael, stop. Every time you try to make a drinking game that is going to kill the 5 people that like us and listen to this. Every single time.
That's going to tank our numbers.
I'm just trying to make us all have a good time. Look, I think Trading Spouses was a wonderful journey. It was entertaining, memeable.
They call Michael liver wine podcast because what he does to your liver.
That's a joke from our Chosen episode. You could thank fucking the son of Jerry B. Jenkins for that one.
Technically, that's brought to you by the Left Behind series.
Yeah, great.
I just want like a domino meme.
Some guy gets extremely psyched about the end of the world. Domino, domino, domino. Josh makes another horrible joke on our podcast. Yeah.
Yep, more or less.
Yeah.
So I guess we should, before we get into Trading Spouses, address the, 1,000-year-old elephant in the room, 2,000-year-old elephant in the room at this point.
So recently,
the Pope called us a slur.
No. Francis is a cool Pope, guys. He loves gay people.
And he redacted trans people.
The Catholic Church recently issued a formal proclamation stating that that Catholic priests will not bless gay marriages in the Catholic Church. If you have been following the history of the Catholic Church, this should not be surprising to you. But there were plenty of people who, because of various internet headlines, got their hopes up because Pope Francis is doing the bare minimum for queer people by saying that they belong and that he's fine with civil unions and that he doesn't want them to be sad and they should be welcomed in the church. And technically, that's been the Catholic line the whole time. I can understand why you might not have believed that, considering all the other shit Catholics do.
Considering every other pope in the history of the papacy?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the last pope, the one before,
Ratzinger,
the young
yeah.
pope. Oh, I'm sorry, I got confused from... I thought that HBO thing was a documentary. The old dude before, he would have directly called me and Michael slurs, while this pope would have asked Michael if he was the man or the woman in the relationship. So, like, he's still very clearly homophobic, just in a different, unique way. It's a different flavor of homophobia. I'm mad. And, like, I am... aggressively anti-Catholic. That's the bit. That's the whole joke. And it's just upsetting because I know a lot of people who have gay children that are Catholic and would look to this Pope and say, there's hope. There's hope that, like, my religion and my love for my kids will not have to fight. And I just feel bad for those people. And I will also say the Pope is weirdly quiet on whether or not he blesses gay exorcists. So, Michael, your job is still technically safe.
I can still get a job!
Yeah, they'll still keep paying you. You're still, like, we've been kind of hush-hush about it.
Vatican's payroll.
Yeah,
they don't pay gay people that much because, like, how many exorcists do they have out there?
I really want a movie of, like, Pope Francis being like, God damn it, he gets results, though. Turn in your crucifix and your rosary.
That'll be our first collaboration with PureFlix.
Stop doing tarot readings in the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, I mean, we won't spend too much time on it, but Josh basically got to the most important thing, which is that it's probably not going to change people who are older than, like, 20. If you're like been around long enough, you understand that was what was going to happen. But if you're a young queer Catholic, this was probably hard. For the probably no queer Catholics that listen to our podcast, I just want to say, I'm sorry that the church has let you down. Don't look to them to validate your humanity. You should look to your friends and loved ones and people you trust. You know your faith the best. It's okay to be disappointed by this. And that's all I'm going to say because we have to do a real show.
And we're going to leave space for a, like, special about... We're going to work out the details because I have some ideas and I'll talk to you both off pod for that.
And, like, I do want to say, like, there's a lot of emotion with it, and I could see during my joke rant real anger and disappointment in Aaron's eyes. And, like, I can tell that, like, there's a lot of passion around it. So everybody's got that ex-Catholic in your life. Just send him a dank meme about the 30 Years' War. Let's get back to basics. Aaron?
We just need to go back to nailing hundreds of people to a big tree. That's what Catholicism is all about.
That's the
Our
solution
Protestant
here.
Catholicism unity is that Anabaptists are the worst things that have ever happened.
That's right.
That was a good 30 Years' War joke.
Anyway, speaking of terrible generational conflict, Michael, do you want to talk about this episode of Trading Spouses?
Yeah, so I'd like to begin with what Trading Spouses is. So it is a relic of early 2000s reality TV, and anyone who has ever met me ever will hear me talk very fondly about this era of reality TV because it was very early. We really didn't know what we were getting yet. No one was trying to produce their own story. It was just literally like strapping a GoPro to someone and being like, show us your life. Go crazy. And there wasn't all of this, there wasn't a lot of sophisticated editing. So you can tell where things are cut and, there's just like less of an unfavorable edit. Now you can watch a reality show and you can see there are heroes and villains and the producers want you to feel a certain way about people. In this era, not so much. And with Trading Spouses, definitely not so much. So the premise is very simple. You trade spouses. So the idea is one spouse goes and lives with a family and vice versa, and they get a certain amount of money that they're giving the family and deciding how to spend it.
I do just want to say the families are picked like specifically for like a like fun kooky twist a lot of times. Like, he's a rock and roll dad and she's also rock and roll, and they're going to this opera singer and his fancy wife. What will happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic fish out of water thing.
Yeah, so the thing that immediately made me extremely worried about this episode was that, so this is the opener to season 2, I believe, of Trading Spouses. So they gave a teaser at the beginning for the whole season, and one of the teasers was like they had a black woman being sent to a place where they didn't know about black people, and one of the teaser clips was like, oh, what's your nationality? And she's like, well, I'm American. And they're like, oh, what is that? Like, no, but like, really? And I was like, oh, are we going to have a racist time? Because I might have to text Michael and be like, I'm actually not doing this. But thankfully, we didn't watch that one.
There's also a gay episode and then a gay and race episode.
Yeah, and like, look, as someone who loves my old reality TV, the 2000s were not exactly a nuanced time for conversations around race, gender, sexuality, any of the above. So no, I would never put you two through that. Did I watch all of those episodes with my mother at an inappropriately young age? Absolutely. I've seen every episode of Trading Spouses, actually.
And you're bet. And you're more for it.
I think I'm better for it. So
Definitely
we
more.
get a very explosive preview, and we're introduced to the parents. They're a conservative Christian family from rural Louisiana. And we are very, very quickly introduced to our hero, our protagonist of sorts, Marguerite Perrin, who is introduced as Margaret Perrin, and you can tell that it is an attempt to Anglicanize her name and make it easily pronounceable. I'm going to refer to her as Marguerite because that's how she's listed literally everywhere except for this one episode. Even anywhere you find her on social media, it's all Marguerite. So I'm going to call her by the name that she actually goes by. She is the self-described queen of the household. Her husband, Barry, is a salesman. What does he sell? Who knows? He's not important. Barry does all the chores around the house because he's supposed to be the hardworking, long-suffering husband. And he even makes a joke about how the only person he's ever been with sexually, because, you know, Christians can't say have sex. They have to say have only been with. And so he's only been with his wife.
That's, I think, the appropriate noise you should make. Like,
It felt like an oversharing moment.
Yeah, like, I just sat down for dinner, sir.
Well, what I love is that this era of reality TV would never let you know that the producers were there unless some shit was going down. So you never get to hear the questions they ask. And like, now, if this were shot today, we'd probably hear what the producers ask. Like, oh, did you date? Or put it in context. But I kind of like, just out of context, him being like, yeah, the only person I've been with is my wife. It's like,
only seen 3 boobs, 2 of my wife's, and once when that dirty movie came on television. I got a quick little peek before commercial came on.
So Marguerite and Barry have 2 kids, Ashley and Brooke. Ashley got pregnant at 16, has a daughter, and Marguerite said when her daughter approached her and was pregnant, she said, God spoke to her and said, it's time to open a dance studio. And I love this. There are so many worse things that people have used the word of God to justify. And Marguerite's gut instinct was, God's telling me to open a dance studio.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like holy revelations go, this one's pretty tame. I did think it was super weird, and Ashley was like, you know, I thought God wanted me to be a dancer, but I guess he wanted me to be a dance teacher. And she did seem like kind of pissy about that, which I appreciated. But, you know, it wasn't too bad.
Fuck you, God. I'm good enough, God. Just you wait. Just you wait.
Ashley has like typical older sister vibes. In fact, these girls really fall into the like stereotypical older and younger sibling roles. So Ashley is like in charge and like a second parent and kind of bossy. And then Brooke is like shy and go with the flow and a bit of a wallflower. And so we get that set up pretty early, and that will be important. Marguerite explains to us that when she is talking about hearing from God, she means she hears from God, that God speaks to her and she speaks to him. And those of you unfamiliar with evangelicalism might have your jaw on the ground. This is real. This is what evangelicals think.
Well, this is air quotes real.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, this sounds so much meaner than I mean it. This is real to them. These people do believe that this is what is happening. Like, I don't want to, like, I'm not going to go out there and be like, you're not actually actively hearing something. I just don't think it is a deity. I don't think that it is an actual walk with, like, that God came down and went, it's dance time.
My steaming hot take is, I don't know if it's real or not. I've never experienced it, so I will take the same position I have about ghosts. It would be neat. I hope God speaks to Marguerite. I think that's really sweet.
I will say, I do believe more that God said open a dance studio than most things people say God said. That is the most believable thing I've ever heard.
Well, and where it's led her, I am kind of like, it might be hard to disagree.
Oh, I just want to... Aaron and I both got this spoiled. There's a couple buck wild twists towards the end, so, like, just stay around with us.
Yeah, you're in for a treat. So we then flip to liberal, godless, East Coast Massachusetts. And this made me laugh because it's so Bush era.
I mean, this was episode aired in like, what, 2003, 2004, so...
Yeah. So you know as well as I do that if Trading Spouses, this episode, were set today, they would have this other family be from California.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. Right. This shows how the political discourse has changed in 16 years, right? Like, of course, like without a doubt they'd be from California now, but I guess back before, John Kerry ran for president, it was very much like, oh, the East Coast with all their new age beliefs.
The Flishers are not Satanists. They are a spiritual but not religious family. And we know they're kind of different because we see them with crystals, talking about miso soup and soy milk.
The soy milk is such a fucking indicator. It's like, yes, we found the liberals.
I gotta be honest, I was like, fair read, dude. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, no, we switched to soy milk last year, too. It just lasts longer.
I'm like, even like the next fucking level, because I'm oat milk. Like, that's how bad it is.
God.
Michael's out here milking oats just to get that coffee.
I'm over here like, it's more sustainable.
Freaking liberal.
I totally forgot how normie we were in the 2000s because this is the alternative family. Like, soy milk and miso soup was weird and alternative, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, paganism's like pretty mainstream now.
Yeah, like now it would be an actual witch.
So I'm going to turn this frog into a man in our ritual. So, show up.
We get to meet a delight, an angel, a sweet baby angel, the kindest human I think I've ever seen on reality TV. Jeannie. She is a hypnotist astrologer who, frankly, I am now interested in seeing. I'd love to see that. We get to see Jeannie do hypnotherapy.
I was initially very skeptical of Jeannie because whenever a white person is like, listen, look at all these mandalas I have on my wall, and I want to talk to you about your chakras, my skin starts to crawl. I'm just like, oh, you're one of those. And, listen, I've been to plenty of mystical shops in Indiana, so that happens a lot to me. But Jeannie really did me a solid. She has a pretty good character arc here, so... I'm proud to say that I read you wrong, Jeannie. You can do yoga for all I care. I'm proud of you.
But more importantly, we're going to go to Jeannie's lazy husband, who doesn't quite do enough and likes to butt heads with her. And here, I I've done this before. We've all typed an essay, and then you got to the conclusion and went, oh, fuck. I wrote about a completely different thing than I talked about in my introduction. And that's what happened in this show. Because they were like, we're going to have this woman who's used to a husband that just takes care of her every single need, and then she's going to get to this, like, dude that's just going to butt heads with her and just cause problems. That's not at all what happens ever.
So that's what I love about this particular episode. There's a reason they begun the season with it, because this was accidental gold. They had no idea what good television they had until it was in the cutting room floor and they were like, shit, that's not what we were planning.
But what's weird about it is they did know they were onto gold, because right before each, like at least when they were editing, because every 30 seconds we got, stay tuned after the break to watch these insane revelations.
Yeah, I mean, they showed the final freak out from the last 2 minutes of the show every single commercial break. That's not an exaggeration. It was just like literally every single one. And that's my understanding is that's just how reality TV is even today. It's just like, we're going to keep showing you the good part and just keep teasing it so you'll watch. But yeah, like it is such a strange thing that they recorded this all. I mean, I don't understand how reality TV was produced then or now, but it does seem like a very strange narrative to start with, like, oh, she's going to be so mad that she has to work all the time and deal with this hippie, and then have this but also have this, tease of like, and also, she's going to have a whole religious meltdown. It seemed like they probably could have set that up a little bit better.
Yeah. And so the problem is that so in my understanding of how trading spouses work is they don't film anything after the fact. So a lot of times when you do the confessionals and things like that, that's filmed after. My understanding of trading spouses is they did that before. So yeah. And so the idea is they want like your real reaction to these questions so they can frame things in a way to set things up. And then they'll film like the bonding and the questions. So the beginning that you saw was likely filmed before any of the other stuff because they wanted to introduce the cast of characters. That's not always the case in reality TV, but what I was catching is there were times where they were wearing the same outfit, but a little something was different, so you could tell it was shot multiple days. So they were like splicing it.
Like, that makes it even stranger for me that Barry was like, fuck, I've never seen another pair of boobs. Like, that was before everything happened.
I mean, his could have been after, but...
I mean, he got like 8 sentences in the entire thing.
Barry is hardly a character in this.
Honestly, like, I have seen some of these episodes where, like, pets have a bigger arc.
So true. So... Chris is Jeannie's husband, and, again, the framing of Chris was very different than what we see, but Chris and Jeannie were newlyweds at this time. They had only been married about a year, and, like, there's something very bold about taking your 1-year-old marriage and being like, let's add cameras to this equation.
Yeah, as somebody who's been married coming up on a year now, no... Absolutely.
Wait, you don't want to do a fan-made Bible Boys trading spouses?
Oh my God, we'll send you...
you could send me your girlfriend, or you could send me Edgard. I don't know which would be worse for me.
I would love to see you and my girlfriend sitting in a living room quietly as neither of you are sure what exactly conversation topic would even kind of make sense.
Yeah, I think me and your partner would be extremely uncomfortable, and then me and Edgard would just, like, talk about Catholicism.
Yeah.
But Aaron, like, honestly, we're not going to get any extra views for that. If we really want this, we're sending you to fucking Joe Rogan. Like, we're getting those views, baby. If we're selling out, we're selling out.
No, thank you.
No.
Yeah, he's terrible and evil.
I'll sell out to a lot of things. I will not sell out to Joe Rogan, sir.
Oh man, you don't get to live in that sweet. I don't know where he lives now. Fear Factor household.
No, I don't have any interest in speaking to a man who invited Alex Jones on his show 3 or 4
times.
Yup.
He got that Alex Jones taste and went, a little more.
So there was this really cute moment where Chris talks about being an astrologer, and he says, and thankfully Jeannie had a very compatible chart, and I died. I thought it was really fucking funny.
Yeah, I hit her up on CoStar, and it totally worked out.
I was on chaos mode and just, hey, it worked. And Chris also says that he was impressed that she was an Aries, which is like the funniest thing. Like, oh wow, that's impressive. Like, okay, look, I'm currently living with dating an Aries, so they're great, but it's not like there's only 3 of them in the United States. Like, it's not like, wow, really?
That was definitely edited because he was like, and then her moon sign is a Pisces, which is awesome due to the emotional vulnerability. And then, unfortunately, that Saturn Venus.
You're absolutely right. They had to cut out all the extra shit because
he was reading her entire birth chart.
He pulled like a clipboard and then it like unfolded with multiple charts.
Well, no, it's all online. We've seen their birth charts because they were all on the computer. He keeps it all filed, and he's like telling me
pre-Google, so I don't know how they found that. They used like Ask Jeeves or some shit to pull that up.
No, I think like he had a software and like he created it. Like, yeah, this is like old school astrology when you're like actually charting things out. Yeah, I can't just like log on to your favorite app and make it happen.
Yeah, like I came out of the closet and was able to just type in a couple numbers into CoStar. Like if you were a gay back then, you had to work a lot harder to get your horoscope reading. Like it was way more difficult being gay then.
For multiple reasons.
Yeah.
I will say Chris did offend me with something. Cargo shorts. Really?
That's true. That's how you know. That's how you know he's a fuck up.
Yeah, I was like, that would be our big argument.
Also, he did a radio show, which is just old podcast, and like, part of it was like love advice, and I wouldn't take love advice from a man in cargo shorts. that's hot Joshua Green love advice.
I guess you can't see him through the radio, so that's good at least. Apparently, though, Chris and Jeannie fight a lot. And this is really not super followed up on, and it shows them bickering, but it's not like... It doesn't feel bad-spirited or anything like that. But I tried to find some information about them, and it looks like they're divorced.
Oh, the one-year marriage didn't work?
It's kind of hard to find.
I blame him. She was a delight the entire show.
No, like, so here's the thing. If you go on Trading Spouses, you probably should go ahead and get divorced anyway. But also, like, I think that's a good point. Like, Chris does... I can see why they try to frame it like this, because he does seem like he's kind of got a grating personality. Like, they talk about pushing buttons a lot, and he's always... Not always, but there are definitely instances in this show where he's like, oh, well, why don't we do this thing? Or what about this thing? And like, if that was something that annoyed you, and like, if you tried to talk to him about it and he kept doing it, I could see why that would be kind of a pain in the ass.
For sure. So we finally arrive at departure day. At 5 a.m., the car comes to get Marguerite and Jeannie, and they fly off to meet their new families. And one of my favorite little tidbits is that the husbands actually meet them blind. They don't know who they're looking for. And this is one of my favorite lines in the entire thing. So we see like Marguerite and Jeannie like just walking, trying to find their, husband for the week. And Marguerite and Chris keep passing each other. And then finally they bump into each other. And she goes... I bet you were expecting someone daintier than I, right? And I just love how, like, she laughed and, like, made it a very clear joke because, like, Marguerite is a statuesque woman. And it was just so... It, like, was such an insight into her personality, which we got a small sliver of in this show because it's obviously not as good TV. But yeah, I love love that she said that. And then we also get another little funny line. She said, I was praying to marry Jesus and Joseph, and you look like Jesus, so I'm comfortable.
That was extremely good. She's like, this fucking long-haired hippie man, this is a good thing.
There's actually something like, I think now with years of distance between having first watched this and now, and obviously knowing where this ends up, there's this like effortlessly charming, like vivacious side of Marguerite where you can see her being a really good, fun dance instructor. You can see like that part of her personality coming out. But that's not what we're going to focus on. So
No.
Barry and Jeannie meet, and they're just kind of like a more subdued pairing, those two.
Michael, redacted Green. How dare you skip over the part where Barry made a fucking little sign with Jeannie's name on it and waited for her, so like a little dude with his car. It was the sweetest thing. It was so wholesome.
Yeah, it was a very cute moment. I mean, they're just a chiller pair, and you can tell, at least in my opinion, that Jeannie was doing this to like learn about another family. She wanted to get outside of her comfort zone. She wanted to experience how someone else lived, and walked in with an open mind, no expectations, and just wanted to ask more and listen more than talk. And that's why I think Jeannie is just, I imagine, must be great at hypnotherapy and that side of things, because you can't be a talk first, listen second hypnotherapist. And like you said, he did have a cute little sign.
It was adorable. It just the difference, because like the other pairing of Marguerite and I've already forgotten
Chris.
the other man, Chris. Like they like walk past each other a couple times, and like they almost bump into each other, and it's like very awkward energy, and just fucking Barry with this little tiny sign, just like hi.
Well, then Jeannie, who is like the warmest, kindest person, like asking him questions and, you know, not doing a ton of opening up, which you can't blame her.
No, yeah.
And then, you know, Jeannie meets the girls and she hugs them and just seems so positive and nice. Like, I want to hang out with her. And then we get some beautiful editing where
I was hoping you'd bring this up.
Cut to the Perrin family's home, and we get dark storm clouds rolling over and like these lingering shots because we're supposed to know bad shit is on the horizon.
And we also get like quick cuts of just like little gargoyles in the garden.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they also very much do have a huge fucking pentagram, like, on one of their sheds. And, like, for a religious person, that's probably, like, a bad sign.
Well, and what I love is when Marguerite's introducing herself to the family, she's like, I'm harmless, don't be scared of me. And I'm like, oh, are you? Okay, so we saw the gargoyles, and Marguerite refers to the family as a hippie partridge family. Marguerite is very, 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 very stressed about the star. She sees the star, which I will note is not an encircled pentagram.
And also, I did research. The pentagram was only seen as a demonic symbol after the Renaissance. Beforehand, it was seen as a symbol of the different elements, deeply tied to Greek thought and also Christian thought. And then eventually, when the Italians were like, ooh, the Greeks were into some shit. Ooh, what's this element stuff? Could they do magic with the pentagram? And then the Pope heard two Italians say that and went, the devil!
I just love how much, like, slapdash work there is on Christian lore when it comes to things like that. Because oftentimes it's like, could you just chill?
Yeah, if Christians had any chill, they would have, like, 8 times less enemies, but they just keep inventing new bad guys for themselves.
Like, don't you have enough? I've read the Bible several times. It sounds like there are plenty.
Yeah,
to
Satan's
work off
pretty
of.
busy in it.
Yeah. So we do get a moment of Jeannie and Ashley having a conversation that Ashley's agreed to try hypnotherapy. Barry is a very, 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 very doubtful of messing with the subconscious, because all evangelical men are, because they're worried that the kind of porn they like is going to come out.
I don't want Marguerite to find out I've actually seen 5 boobs. I've seen 5. I'll watch that show after that commercial.
Well, and from our Falwell episode, you will all know that it is likely that his tastes.
God, I just want someone else to have fucked my wife. Like, I just want another man to have gotten
Aaron's
in there.
gone. He's deceased.
The thing is that's so true for Barry. Barry absolutely would love that shit.
I don't.
He is the demographic.
Barry, I this term's overused, but Barry does have big cuck energy. BCU.
On that note, Marguerite drops her first dark-sided in regard to mandalas. She asks if they're dark-sided, which I think is just so funny, like, to ask that.
This is also right when the Star Wars prequels are out, so, like, I assume they were just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, I just love, like, who has ever been asked? I guess me. I would be the only person that if someone's like, is what you're doing dark-sided? I'd be like, yeah, it is.
The difference, a lot of people confuse me and my brother's humor, because at that point my answer would have been, I fucking wish. But, like, I'm not cool enough.
And we do see Jeannie doing hypnotherapy on Ashley, who proceeds to pass the fuck out. And, like, same girl. That's kind of how I would be. I thought this moment was kind of cute. It was like a bonding moment. Ashley was open to trying something that was very, very alien to her. And Jeannie was looking to, like, give her insight and teach her something and try to help her. And I just thought it was kind of sweet. And we get a very small moment that I love about this era of reality TV, because Trading Spouses and Wife Swap, which were on at the exact same time, had these moments of, like, mundane behaviors, like working the washer and dryer, and Marguerite being so confused. And if you've ever moved apartments and gotten a new washer and dryer, you know this feeling. You know how it is to be like, what the fuck are all of these buttons? What does this mean? What's your laundry detergent? Like, I'm not cut out for these shows, because I would go somewhere else and I would break out in hives because they'd use the wrong laundry detergent.
I've had panic attacks just looking at a shower and being like, what? There's 5 knobs, and there's a green dial. Like, I don't know.
There's a Rubik's Cube.
My problem is
a crusader telling me I need to drink from a certain cup.
See, I would also have shower problems, but mine would be that it wouldn't be clean enough, so I'd have to bring some Lysol.
I would love, like, multiple shots of Michael cleaning someone else's shower.
It would be my first episode, like, when they were cutting to that first little stretch, it would be me, like, gloved up wiping down their shower. I'd be like, this will be a nice little surprise for them. They'll come home and be like, did you set off a bomb? Our whole house smells like bleach.
I went to church camp where not 1, not 2, but 3 different times a kid just took a shit in the outdoor showers. Which were already the grossest things that ever existed, those outdoor showers.
So I guess I do believe in the death penalty.
Just a Michael giving a thumbs down to some 8-year-old Christian boy who decided the bathroom was too far to walk. Honestly, the showers were slightly cleaner than the toilets. He made the correct decision.
I don't know about that. At this moment, Marguerite smells something and starts literally gagging and freaking out. And the kids are like, what are you talking about? And I put, maybe she should do hypnotherapy because she needs to calm down.
So here's the thing about vomiting, is that vomit impulse, that gag, doesn't come from that high up in your body. In my experience, the sound is much lower if it's actually like a thing. So I didn't really buy it. I thought she was faking it. But like, she did commit to the bit, and it was like, do you smell that? Wow, the dryer is both haunted and stinky.
It's dark-sided, Aaron.
God smells like flowers. Satan smells like doo-doo. We all know this.
Obviously, why else would sulfur be the sign of a demonic possession?
Come on, Aaron. You're supposed to be the Catholic one. You should know this.
I did make a note that Chris is actually the only one in this entire episode that calls Marguerite by her name instead of calling her Margaret. And I can just imagine them having a one-off conversation that was cut with her going, yeah, my name is Marguerite, but Trading Spouses is having me go by Margaret because it's easier. And him going, no, fuck that. That's stupid. I'm calling you Marguerite. That's your name.
That does have him energy from this show.
Yeah. And Chris is going to be throwing a solstice party, which I just instantly thought, oh my God, I cannot wait to teach Marguerite about the history of Christmas, because she gets very worked up about this, and I just can't wait.
The way he pitches it to her is he's like, we're going to bank some drums, drink a beer, light a fire, and have some jambalaya. And I was like, man, that does sound like a good time.
You know what? Maybe I have been too distant lately, but that actually sounds great.
It does sound like a delightful... at this point, I'll do any... I'll go to any event. Not, I want to go to any event, not I will go to any event.
And on the flip side, Jeannie gets to join a party with Marguerite's friends, who are everything you think they are.
This one made me want to die. Just... watching the interaction between Jeannie and Marguerite's turf-ass friends made me want to just throw myself through a window.
Don't worry, I doubt they're her friends anymore. We'll get to that. And so these friends are, as I would like to say, a pack of Karens. They do not like the fact that Jeannie is a hypnotherapist. And one of them asks the insightful, very important question: what's your spiritual background? Do y'all go to church? And Jeannie rightfully points out, that's really none of your business. Jeannie also comes out as a Unitarian Universalist, which I just knew it. I knew it. I went to a UU church for a little while, and I can spot you all. All very cute, very sweet, very wholesome.
They have a very, you can walk into the room and spot a UU. It's astounding, because they've already offered you 3 different types of beverages, and have already told you why organized religion is bad.
It's honestly the best. And, of course, we get the question of the aughts. The only question of the aughts. Do you believe in God or a higher power?
And she does the fucking finger quotes, too, and it just made me want to, take a potato peeler to her bangs. I hated that woman so much.
Well, she even said, do you call it God? What?
Well, and isn't the point that it doesn't fucking matter? Isn't that kind of the point?
What do you think people that speak Spanish call it Jesus or God the exact same thing you do? You don't think there's any difference in language barriers or anything?
You are giving this person way too much credit about the amount of actual thought that has gone into this.
Yeah, I actually don't want to
someone...
hear her opinions about people who speak Spanish.
No, yeah, actually, I don't want to hear that at all.
Yeah, it left my mouth, and then I thought, actually, I'm pretty sure I can guess.
And then she says something that will be bad news to myself and Aaron's wife. Anybody who does tarot readings or psychic readings of any sort is considered of the devil.
I've been saying this for years.
As we record this podcast, there are 2 tarot decks within arm's reach of me, because I'm recording at my wife's work desk. So, rip.
So The friends of Marguerite mean girls Jeannie the moment she says she's not a Christian. They ice her out. They're not interested in talking. And Jeannie is so, just such a sober observer here. You can tell she's like, whatever, dude. You can be rude and evil to me. But she said she's worried about the impact on this belief system on the girls, on Marguerite's daughters. And it just feels like these girls have an instant advocate who walked in the house and said, I want to make your lives demonstrably better. And it is beautiful to see Jeannie being this sense of betterment and a reasonable adult.
This continues for all 15 minutes of footage that they allowed to show from Jeannie's adventure.
Yeah, Jeannie is actually too nice for them to give her a full screen time.
Her runtime in comparison.
Again, I don't think I can make a different choice, though. If I'm a producer here, we know. And so we're cutting back to the solstice party with everyone lighting incense. And Marguerite says she's not participating because of the drumming. And I like this anti-drum standpoint that she has.
Very strange take, Marguerite.
I'm keeping a running tally. So far we're at mandalas, psychics, astrology, gargoyles, stars, higher powers, drums, and tarot. And I think I've got everything we've got so far. There is a bingo card to make. I just don't have the energy to do it.
And Chris points out, this party is not about religion. It's not any particular religion. It's just an excuse to get together with your friends and party. And I'm going to be real. I've done weirder shit at church. There are weirder rituals than this party at church.
Oh my god, Michael, you just unlocked a secret key memory that oh boy, our church had a foot washing ceremony where the kids were supposed to wash their parents' feet in oil. And
our parents boycotted it.
Yeah, our parents were like, what? No, that's
I remember
weird.
My mom being like, this is weird, and I'm gonna cut this, but I always thought, okay, you believe in speaking in tongues, but washing feet is weird? That's the line. Maybe I won't cut it. It's really fucking funny.
It's really funny. I think even she would be like, you got me there.
Well, yeah, she would.
Well, later on in this episode, Marguerite goes to a Catholic church where they explicitly tell you that you are eating flesh and drinking blood. So, drums is just such a weird line to draw. I don't know, Marguerite.
It's dark-sided, and Marguerite is stressed. She's not participating. It's dark-sided, and we cut to her the next morning, and she says that she's tired of dark-sided things, and Chris is trying to make her feel welcome. He has now decided, okay, Solstice party was too much. It's very clear that you're not having a good time. So let's say grace over our food. Let's have a bit more of your traditions. And he is so accommodating. I would not be that accommodating. I'd be like, you can say grace, but I'm not praying. And Marguerite then gets to join the radio show. And I would pay everything. I would empty my bank account to get the raw audio from that radio show.
I am generally pretty proud of what we do here, boys. I think we do a pretty good job of making goofs and touching on some serious issues. We got nothing on this. We are listening to pennies fall into a glass jar. That's the equivalent of our podcast next to this one. It's just... it's a beautiful ear noise.
It is art. And they're riffing and having a good time. And Marguerite's actually opening up. We're getting to see some of that vivacious side of her again. And then she goes and I think either uses the bathroom, goes and gets some water. She's away. And then Chris reveals to us that there's a special guest who is a psychic, And if my gaydar is any indication, is one of my people. Definitely
also,
is one of my people.
As someone with no gaydar, even I was like, are those jeans cuffed?
Yeah, I'm a straight person, and even then I was like, that man is an ex-religious person, and now he's a psychic. I understand where you're coming from, bro.
He would be an excellent fit for the podcast.
We'll try to get him
No,
on.
he would eclipse my role.
That's true, actually. We can replace Michael.
Let them fight.
No, thank you. And Marguerite gets some, like, horror music as she walks back from the bathroom. Like, they edited over this, like, ominous music, and I love it. So Chris didn't tell Marguerite that Tristan was a psychic. And he said, look, I didn't know Tristan would be here today. But he should have told her before they started recording, because they started recording and she loses her mind. She says she's unhappy to be there, that he is not of God. Tristan says, no, I embrace God. Marguerite walks out, rebukes this in the name of God. She says it's dark-sided and she wants nothing to do with it. Tristan says, hey, like, I have a crucifix. I carry it with me everywhere. I, have this religious upbringing. She does not care. She wants to find a church, and this is a God test.
Here's the thing: is that I did actually have a little bit of sympathy for Marguerite in this instance, because this is a genuine emotional breakdown. I don't think this is similar to where she was pretending to gag because of the dryer. I think this is very much oh, I'm being challenged with something that strongly conflicts with my worldview. And I'm really upset about it. And also the show set this crisis up. I think the producers of Trading Spouses engineered this crisis, and that kind of sucks. So I did kind of feel for her in this moment, because she does start crying in the bathroom, which is sad.
It's hard not to have a little empathy for her. I mean, she's saying that she feels under spiritual attack. This is real strong emotional language.
I wouldn't also put it past the producers to have the second she arrived and started reacting that way to be fucking call everyone we need a psychic on this radio show. Just I don't know where he's gonna come from. You know what, Jim? I know you're a cameraman intern. You're a psychic today.
And Tristan is such a team player. He is so nice to Marguerite this entire time, and has been told that he's dark-sided and of the devil, and again, is much nicer than I would react to this. And we're going to then flip back to Jeannie. And Jeannie is very clearly bonding with the girls again. We see Ashley bossing around her younger sister, and Jeannie's really concerned about this dynamic because she's worried that the younger daughter is not going to have her own voice and she's going to be steamrolled. And I think that Jeannie really recognizing this dynamic here, and there is a fairly large age difference between the sisters too, so there's a second mother situation happening.
I think there's also some component of the older sibling being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
That's also going to once I've noticed when people become parents, they do enter a parent mode. Where they'll watch me do something dumb and be don't do that, where before they would have been fucking do it, you coward.
Yeah, this really bummed me out watching Ashley boss Brooke around, and she's well, when mom's not here, then I'm the mom, and that sort of person who becomes a parent in all aspect of their lives once they have a child, that really skeezes me out. I just wrote in my notes, 20-somethings don't have kids challenge. It's just, you really shouldn't. It's, I don't know, just give your brain a little bit more time to cook.
Brian,
Yeah.
Stephanie.
I mean, you are talking to two products of 20-something parents.
And my point, I rest my case.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were the ripe old age of 22 when they had me. I cannot defend that behavior.
So horrifying.
By my age, my parents had both of us and a house.
Fuck me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so
I mean, Things were so different back then. It was the 90s.
Yeah, we had a surplus. The government said, what do we do with the extra money we're bringing in every year?
We
That
send
is so
it
foreign
to the
to me.
Mujahideen is what they ended up doing.
Yep.
Good.
So we cut back to Marguerite praying and rocking in a rocking chair on the porch. And the framing of this shot is like straight out of a found footage horror film. Like it's shot really low and like through like the banisters, and we're like looking into the porch at her. And it's so funny and so good. And she's saying that God is expecting more from her than she thought she could do. And she feels strongly about taking them to church. And she's going to, it seems. We cut back to Jeannie, who's talking to Brooke one-on-one, and she wanted to take her shopping. And oh my God, this is potentially the sweetest moment in the entire show, that Jeannie is taking Brooke out, and you can tell that Brooke is often overshadowed by her mother and her sister, who have very dominant, very type A personalities. And Brooke is a little more like her dad, and a little bit more shy, a little more reserved. And Jeannie is kind of honoring that and just asking her like what she likes and what she wants to buy. And Brooke really likes this necklace and really likes this watch and like doesn't want to choose. And Jeannie goes, I'm buying both for you. And it's so sweet. And then in all of the confessionals from here on out, Brooke is wearing the necklace.
Oh, I didn't even notice
it's
that.
It's so precious.
Cute. Oh, God.
She wears it for the rest of the show. She's even wearing it when Marguerite comes home. Like, she literally wears it and doesn't take it off, because this is potentially the first time someone's asked her, what do you want to wear? What do you like?
Yeah, this was the point last week when we were watching this, when I texted y'all like, oh, I would die for Jeannie.
Yeah.
Because I completely turned around. It just, watching her take care of Brooke, who is probably somebody who has not been given any sort of attention like this, like ever in her life, was just, it hurt to watch. It was so sad for me.
Well, because Brooke was all of, 6 years old when her older sister became a mother?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that's a tough dynamic. So we cut back to Marguerite preparing to engage in spiritual warfare against the unsuspecting family. She tells every kid that she wants to have a conversation, nothing heavy, just wants to chat, and then proceeds to tell them about Jesus. And the kids are just sitting there being evangelized to, so uncomfortable. And Emma, the daughter, points out that Marguerite's very comfortable talking about Jesus, but is not comfortable talking to them about astrology. And she finds that hypocritical. And to that I say, Emma, you were right. It is. No more, no less. And finally, Marguerite brings this to Chris. And Chris is, getting the sales pitch about Jesus. And he goes, yeah, I'll take the family to church. I think that's a great idea. And I'm just over here like, really? You are so nice. There's no way.
Yeah, like, he's kind of a dum-dum, but, like, he was being so nice and accommodating that, like, I did have to kind of hand it to him. Like, he's really trying to make Marguerite as comfortable as possible. And, it did endear him to me a little bit.
I feel like he saw the same thing that we saw and went, oh, this is someone who's like clearly hurting and clearly in a vulnerable place. Let me just be nice. And I appreciate that. And Marguerite is over the moon. She is so happy that they went to church. And we get a quick little shot because, we can't forget about Jeannie and Brooke. Jeannie goes to watch Brooke dance, and it's so cute to see her so happy and supportive. And Marguerite then gets into a argument with Chris because she is very opposed to all of the astrology and shuts it down. And Chris is like, okay, but I did take the kids to church. Like, I did give you, and he's trying to have her give like a quarter of an inch. He's like, just let me do a reading. It's nothing. And she is not having it. And so it is the last day, and we get to figure out how they're going to spend the $50,000. And Marguerite is saying that she feels that the money is going to be tainted no matter where it goes because they aren't Christians, which is a hell of a take. I've heard takes hotter than this in church before, though, so what can I say? And Jeannie feels a responsibility to honor her closeness with and her bond with each one of the parents. And you just see, this is the most heartbreaking moment. Brooke, so deflated and heartbroken that Jeannie is leaving. And, it's so gut-wrenching because, like, Jeannie just saw Brooke and really just saw who she was and honored that. And Marguerite is, like, forcing the family to give her a hug and is saying basically she only liked taking them to church. And I honestly felt like that was pretty sad because they have this beautiful dynamic that we just really didn't get to explore and that Marguerite missed out on. And I'm sure that's a regret of hers because she really did miss out on that. And then Chris says something that I found to perhaps cast doubt on his skills as a astrologer. Jeannie and Chris each have a differing dynamic where one of them says something prophetic and the other says something to be proven false. And Chris said that Marguerite will never change. And I put a little eye emoji next to that.
Yeah, because like this was definitely something that in the moment, without knowing the stuff, I was like, I mean, fucking, yeah. Like,
me too.
If I had that experience, I also would have been like, fucking right on the money.
Absolutely, because, like, you know, people who are deeply into the evangelical church, or any church really, very rarely ever change once they hit a certain age. They're just like, okay, yeah, no, this is my thing now. And yeah, like, I was 100% on board, like, man, fuck that lady.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you guys ready to talk about our heroes meeting?
Let's do it.
This is the Avengers, like, shot where it goes around them all when they're, like, in New York City. This is that moment.
We finally get to see Marguerite and Jeannie meet. Jeannie instantly starts glowing about Brooke and her dancing and her skills. And Marguerite asks the important question, asking Jeannie if she discussed astrology with her family. And says that she's concerned with how Jeannie has been dealing with her family and begs her to, quote, put God in your heart. Marguerite says her entire experience was awful. She never cried so much. And Jeannie, this to me showed a very big foundational crack in Jeannie and Chris's relationship. Because Jeannie has so much empathy for Marguerite and takes what she's saying at face value and believes it, which I think is just a hallmark of her character, that she assumes honesty and the best out of people. But she asks the producers, like, I could never understand why Chris would force his beliefs on someone else. And I really want to figure it out because that makes me really angry. And she's very upset about the conflict because she used her week to build these beautiful relationships with this family and felt like her family dropped the ball. And I just love that about Jeannie, that she assumed that. But also, imagine hearing something like your spouse is forcing their beliefs on someone else and going, oh yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, that's a bad sign, right?
Yeah, that's not great. Because it's like, it doesn't matter if it's true or not.
I think she specifically says, like, oh, and I know how he is. It's like,
Big oof. So let's get into how the money is being spent. So basically, the long and short is that Marguerite gives varying amounts of money to everyone in the family and is kind of impersonal about it, gets them all engraved Bibles. That's like the nicest thing that she does, the most personal. Everyone else just got like various amounts of cash. And what is left over is just for keeping up with the family, whatever you want to spend it on. It's very distant. You can tell she didn't really get to know them or give them anything. And the family, they seem fine. The Flishers seem fine. Like, they're like, okay, cool. It's great that we have this boost of money. I'm sure these kids are happy to get cash, even though really sucks for Emma, who got the least amount of money.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that pissed me off so much.
Like, by $5,000 too, I'm like, you have $50,000 to spend. Just give the kids, like, $15,000 each. That's fine. You've spent most of it then.
None of the kids got the same amount, and none of it made any sense, because we only see, like, we don't see any heartwarming moments where she really bonded with one and was like, fuck the other ones. Like, it felt like she's, like, was like, I got, like, this amount left, fuck it. 3 different, like, which is so weird, because that's not the vibe I got from her.
No.
I got a different bad vibe, but, like, that wasn't the vibe.
Well, it seemed like she was, like, in the throes of a breakdown and didn't have the emotional space to even think about someone other than self-preservation.
Yeah.
She was so, felt so assaulted by this different way of life that this is how she reacted. And Jeannie just consistently and, throughout this entire thing just shows emotional maturity. And she says she feels very upset and lied to by Marguerite because she talks to her family and they're like, we literally took her to church. What do you mean we're forcing our beliefs on her? And Jeannie then says, I still think something good is going to come from this. And so I truly believe in her skills because, yeah, Jeannie, yeah. Marguerite is having a full-blown Category 5 breakdown in the car. And I said, this is about where the memes start. This is about where, if you are familiar with the God Warrior, you know her from here on. She says she's happy to be back in God's country, Louisiana. Obviously. I must have missed that book in the Bible. And she's ranting about how she hasn't slept and seen unseeable things. And then she gives us, I think, my favorite line. I've sown some wonderful seeds, but I brought an ungodly person into my house. You can't write that shit.
Aaron, you're much better at video editing than I am. Is there any way you can just clip some of her just, like, screaming about Darksided over Obi-Wan's face in the third prequel movie while he's yelling to Anakin?
I can certainly see what I can do.
That was much more than I was expecting. I was expecting a solid no.
That was a nice way of saying no, I guess.
Yeah. The nicest way possible. I just want to keep it in my back pocket. Like, I've sown some wonderful seeds, but I brought an ungodly person into my house. Like, goddamn, Marguerite, you have a way with words.
That is what Michael yells at his cats every time he gets home.
Yeah, that's how I feel. And so Ashley and her daughter are celebrating. They're like, yay, my mom's going to be home. My grandma's going to be home. And Marguerite comes in the door, starts crying, saying this is the worst time of her life. And that it was Darksided. And you see this look on her family's face of bewilderment. She screams, she's not a Christian. She is saying the money is tainted. She starts yelling at the camera crew to come out to leave. This is all relatively unprompted. There's not really a catalyst here.
It really just builds in the car, and then just this outburst of emotion comes out of nowhere.
She also yells at her family for not praying for her.
Mm-hmm. That's what really got to me, because they're like, wait, are you mad at us? And they're just like sitting there horrified as Marguerite has this full-blown meltdown. And I thought that was really telling about her relationship with her family, and it really bummed me out.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. It almost seemed like this was the first time she behaved this way. Because they all looked shocked. It wasn't like quiet, like, let's just let her get this out of her system. They didn't do any of that. Like, Ashley's mouth is agape this entire time. It at least came across to me, she's never seen her mother act like this. And to be fair, her mother is yelling, gargoyles, Darksided.
I I hate to disagree, but I got the like opposite vibe of just like I've experienced some. I've had people in my life who would react in boisterous ways that would disappoint me, the reactions her family gave of just trying to like, would just like it's okay, and like we did everything we could. Like, it felt very like fucking this shit again, and who's to say exactly
right.
what the like it's impossible to know. Either way, bad time for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, as Marguerite is yelling gargoyles dark-sided, we get the pinnacle of comedy with Barry calmly in the background. I'm so glad you're home. She is yelling at her loudest pitch, and him just quietly in the background. I'm so glad you're home.
Oh, Barry.
And poor Brooke is distraught. Brooke is really why I said I didn't feel like they had seen this before. Because she looks like how we would all look if I just started like screaming at the two of you out of nowhere. Like, it's just so out of nowhere and like out of character in such a deep way. But who knows?
All I could think for her is like, don't fucking take her little necklace. Like, that's the only thing I could think about for her. I was like, fucking don't. She loves it so much. Don't.
When she tore up the money allocation, I was like, oh, fuck. Brooke probably got a lot of money, and I was just, like, heartbroken.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is the worst. But then something happens.
Yeah, I mean, she does tear up the money, and she says that she had to go to a Catholic church. And I like that she said it. Church. Yeah. And Ashley's
this
defending Jeannie. Suddenly you're on the side of the God Warrior.
Suddenly I understand. Because listen, I mean, the issue is like there was a truck stop, but there was a long line, so I picked the Catholic Church instead.
Marguerite proceeds to kick everyone in her house out who is not a Christian, and says that if any of you are dark-sided people, you can leave. She asks the family, did you even ask Jeannie if she believed in God? And she's still ranting, and we get like a musical cutout, assuming that this just continued on. And so we get to learn how Jeannie spent the money. She gave money to Ashley's studio, $10,000 for Ashley and Abigail to move out on their own, $15,000 for Barry to spend on the family, and $20,000 for Marguerite to get a gastric bypass surgery that she had expressed very long interest in getting and just had never set aside for herself. It's not something that they actually include in the show. That's something I did on further reading. And then we get the end credits scene. Upon further review, Margaret has decided to accept the money.
Which, like, I know that's played as oh, haha, what a hypocrite. But, like, I was, like, genuinely so relieved. I was like, oh, thank Christ. You cannot...
Me too.
Even nowadays, 50K is a lot for, average folks like us. But, in fucking 2004 money, like, with inflation, like, damn, that would have been a lot of money.
I just realized
money.
That, like, she pretty much paid for, like, a fucking year of rent for those people. Like, $10,000 to move out. Like, back then, that was so fucking much money.
Louisiana.
Rural Louisiana.
That's like a decade of rent. That's a joke. Sorry, Louisiana. But it is probably like 2 or 3 years of rent in Louisiana into 2004.
Well, it's certainly enough for her to move out on her own. Like, no questions asked.
Exactly, yeah.
I do want to also point out that famously, Louisiana, home of New Orleans, the godliest city known to man.
God's country.
Louisiana is not the same as New Orleans, I will argue.
Yes.
You can't take the Narlands out to Louisiana.
Absolutely you can. I am from Illinois. Illinois is very different from Chicago.
But you need it, though. That's like trying to take the Nova out of Virginia. Then it's just bad.
So would you all like to join me on the Where Are They Now segment of the show?
Yeah, let's get to it.
I know there's a bummer coming up.
There's a wild ride, so everyone buckle in.
Oh,
so
boy.
let's start with Marguerite. So Marguerite was actually, in a lot of ways, one of the first viral stars. Every talk show at the time was having her on. And I think important context here, Facebook and YouTube were only a year old. A year old. Like, Facebook was not usable unless you were a college kid. And I'm going to borrow a lot from this amazing interview that Esquire did with Marguerite back in November of 2019. And its title is God Warrior Remains a Beloved Meme, but Marguerite Perrin isn't afraid of dark-sided stuff anymore. And it's by Justin Kirkland, and incredible journalism, incredible interviewing here. So Marguerite was offered a Dance Moms-inspired show about her dance studio by several different networks and has turned them all down. She's kind of said, like, no, like, that's not really the place for it. And when asked if she said everything or was put up to it, she said, I might not have said it all in one sentence, but I did say all those things, she confesses through a laugh. I'm not going to put it off on editing. I would have liked them to take 100 pounds off me if they were going to edit something, though. She says, I laugh at it now because I watched the show. And I look back at that scene and I'm like, I can see how people felt the way they felt. I get it. I totally get it. She also says, I did.
Is this just like a level of like introspection I was not ready for?
Yeah, like Marguerite is actually the kindest you see of her, I think, is her 90% of the time. And then there's this dark-sided part of her that we got a glimpse into. She also says that she learned that there was many different people out there, and she didn't know before the show that there were people who didn't believe in God. If you've never left rural Louisiana and all of your friends are your church friends, yeah. And she said, it's not a judgment. In fact, she said, I'm more open now, definitely more open to things than the show depicted. You know, I might disagree with you and I might not like something, but I respect where you are. And okay, now we're going to get kind of depressing. So in 2007, Marguerite's daughter Ashley died in a car accident at the age of 25.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm going to read Marguerite's words on this. I have to tell you, I was in my bedroom. I was not getting out of bed for the longest time. And she remembers that some of her closest friends didn't know how to bring it up to her, so they just didn't. Some of her closest friends didn't talk to her about her daughter's death. Jesus. But a very particular community did. Marguerite says, the gay community wasn't scared to talk to me about losing Ashley and saying, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I was pretending like I was happy and I was okay. They would not leave me alone. You couldn't help but talk to them and be okay with them. The people that write those little memes and do those little things, I love that. That's what got me out of bed after Ashley's death. Aaron's face right now just tells me that he didn't know enough, and I still got a little bit of fun news.
Yeah, wow.
And
I have actual chills.
Right? And important, very important note from the same article. This meltdown that we all got to see came after a week of filming where production lights allegedly set the carpet on fire and the wind knocked books off a windowsill, which is a lot of like witchcrafty vibes for someone who does not believe in any of that and is very, 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 very sensitive to it.
Or just like, if people came into my house and set my carpet on fire, I'd be a little bit pissed off too.
Yeah, and if they plopped you down to a stranger's house and the carpet was lighting on fire and books flying off the shelves, you'd be a little stressed.
Yeah.
And you've been taught that the only people that don't believe in God are demons.
Yeah. And this is a quote of hers that I really, really liked. When we go to vote, my husband thinks I'm supposed to vote like he does. Straight ticket Republican. She says with a laugh. Not a funny laugh, but one of those where you know she's trying to set the record straight. And I'm like, I don't do that. I vote for the person and the issue that's going on. I am not that. And I just love Marguerite saying, I am not that, to being asked if she's a Republican.
It's really
mood,
good.
Marguerite, mood.
Fucking
And then
God
she
Warrior
says-
said Biden 2020.
Yeah. She even says, who am I to say who's going to heaven and who's going to hell? Really? I mean, seriously? And she ends the interview with, if I was having my last supper, it's going to be a variety of people sitting at my last table, okay? And Marguerite is actually looking into creating a new show where she gets put in uncomfortable situations and tries new things. And that's where the God Warrior is now. And in fact, I'm going to drop a little something in the chat because this article came about because of a Twitter post.
Yep, I saw this. I do want to point out, I kind of love the idea of her becoming the new, like Anthony Bourdain, just fucking traveling the world and, like, eating food and being like, this is new!
Aaron, could you describe what you see in that picture for me?
So we do see Marguerite. It looks like she is in it looks like New York City, I want to say, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she is standing in the middle of four very obviously gay men who are all smiling and very happy to be next to her, which is very funny.
Would you like to know which weekend this was in New York?
I have to assume Pride.
Marguerite Perrin was at New York City Pride, where she ran across these 4 gay men who apparently screamed when they saw her and started, like, reenacting, which is, like, yeah, fair. And
Yeah.
she apparently told them, never stop being true to yourself and never stop screaming.
That's one way to win over the gays.
So, yeah, Marguerite is a gay ally.
She was fucking made to be a gay, icon, though. Like, from the beginning, she had that potential within her, and I was gonna make this not a joke earlier, but honestly, I have found the love and acceptance that is described in Christianity much more in the LGBTQ community than I ever did inside of a church.
I linked another photo. This was posted in her dance group's Facebook page.
Huh.
Marguerite is waving a rainbow flag on the streets in front of a shop that has very many visible rainbow flags. And finally, let me get this person's name. So a reporter at BuzzFeed, Matt Stopera, messaged the God Warrior on social media to ask her a very important question. This was actually before the long Esquire article. Hi, God Warrior. I have one question. Do you love your gay fans? And she responded, I love my gay friends. I went through a very depressed time with the loss of my Ashley. The gay community embraces my crazy from the show and unconditionally loved me. Their notes and condolences brought me through and put a smile on my face. I am forever grateful.
That's surprisingly heartwarming.
Gay people are awesome.
Do you like my gay rights propaganda that I snuck into this?
I mean, to be fair, this whole show is gay rights propaganda, so...
If you look closely, like, if you listen to the audio, Michael did sneak in some heterophobia, just, like, dabbled in. It wasn't dabbled. You like, that dog whistle in the beginning when you were like, cargo shorts. Like, I'm surprised Aaron didn't just hang up.
Michael making me watch this show was heterophobia, so it wasn't cloaked.
You're welcome. So, boys, what do you think about our God Warrior saga?
So I didn't enjoy watching any of it. It made me all very upset, but this reveal at the end has a little bit turned me around on it.
I did not know what the bit was until I read, like, a YouTube comment, and then I had to Google a little bit more, because just hearing a little bit was it bummed me out too much, and it was nice. It was a nice flashback because I watched this forever ago. Because as you watched this with our mom, I was 3 feet to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And I also consumed this pretty much out of the womb. But between this and Animal Face-Off and Deadliest Warrior, we lived in the peak time of television. But all of this was really somehow heartwarming and depressing. And I think it touches on a little bit, not to get too deep. I say that every fucking podcast. But
you say that every fucking conversation. You just love to get deep into the depths of your feels.
I do, shut up. But that is what Christianity needs, antagonism. And when you teach people that every difficult thing you go through is a test of your faith, you start looking for tests of your faith. And I think this is a demonstration of that, of a woman whose faith had never gone through any sort of big turmoil, and then she went through a very new event, and it's kind of like taking a really hot object and dropping it in cold water, and it just kind of shatters, and we saw the absolute worst of her. And it's nice to know that that's not who she is.
It also makes the meme about gays loving sociopathic women true, because we did all collectively watch the same thing and went, that's our girl. We did not have the further context, and we were just like, that's queen shit right there.
That's a special brand of homosexuality, though, Michael. There is a internet mean gay, and I love him. I love my brother.
Yeah, I was gonna say. You're looking at one. So, should we go ahead and do some ratings?
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one, You Were the Chosen One.
Okay. I will give this one, the 13th station of the cross. Jesus is taken down from the cross, because I was ready. I was just ready to crucify Marguerite, but, you know what? In the end, she did redeem herself and all of us, in some ways. So, thank you, Marguerite.
I am going to give this gargoyles, psychics, tarot card readers, dark-sided. This is a work of art.
Good.
Michael, that's just the name of your memoir.
Yeah.
So, I guess next time we do this, I do want to cover VeggieTales. So I'm hoping whenever we record next, we can each bring an episode of VeggieTales that is important to us, and then we can all have we'll all watch each other's episodes, and we'll reminisce. I did watch some YouTube videos recently about the production of VeggieTales, which were very interesting to me. So I think it'll be a good time. But y'all can look out for that next time. Until then, where can people find y'all on the internet?
I am at Green History on Twitter, and also the older person on 2 Days Younger.
That's so confusing, but I followed. I'm the older person on 2 Days Younger. Got it.
Great.
I'm at Michael's Diamonds on Twitter.
I'm at AaronSXL on Twitter. You can also listen to the other podcasts I do at Mortified Pod. Me and Layla just watched the Full Metal Alchemist live action anime, which was god-awful. And this week we're going to watch the full cutscenes of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. So extremely on brand for that podcast. So check that out if you're into that. But as we all ponder and sit in our own darknesses, if a tear does trickle down your face, just remember that it is okay to cry, because even Jesus wept. We'll see you all next time.